Alright, what is up guys, Azura here, and some of you guys wanted it, so here we are. We're going to be talking about harmonics today, and why I personally do not like this new recent buff that they gave the card. So if you guys don't know, this card it didn't actually get a new skill, they just changed how one of the skills work. And the skill that they changed was the skill where it pings you. So before, the harmonics is needed to actually be face up, and it only pings you up to 3 damage, which I think was fine. I think harmonics doing that was actually pretty good for the game, because stuff like 0 damage Luar, 0 damage Angels, not that Angels are too affected by that because they wanted you to harmonics anyways, but against stuff like 0 damage Luard, it actually you know, gave the other decks an answer, gave them a way to actually get CB to actually hit them. So I thought that was pretty cool, but it actually forced the other side to actually commit into the harmonics, which I think was which is like the quote unquote downside to it. So I think it was like a fine balance. But now they decided to make harmonics just do it without having you commit anything at all. So the way they changed the skill is turn 2 onwards. If you did not take any damage that turn, or like, I think the actual wording is like nothing hit your damage zone from your opponent. So basically, if your opponent didn't deal you any damage at all in any way, if your opponent didn't deal you any damage at all, turn 2 onwards, and it works even while it is face down in the G zone now. So you don't even need to stride into it. You can do the harmonic skill where it lets you ping 1 and draw 1, as well as the fact that this card now pings you up to 4 damage. So the changes are basically that it works while it's face down. It works turn 2 onwards. So once you ride to grade 2, you're allowed to do this, and it pings you an extra damage now if you need that extra CB. So they really did not want people to damage tonight, and I understand the reason why they changed this month specifically, because we got Gize this month, and Gize most definitely would have been a damage denied deck if harmonics did not be changed this much. And I honestly agree with the intention of what they're doing with this, to try to not let people just like win with Gize by damage denying, which I think is fine. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that, but by changing it like that to screw over people trying to damage deny with Gize, they also screwed over every other deck that might not have wanted to give some damage. So aside from the main decks that try damage deny like Angels and Luar, not that Luar was doing it too much anymore. Damage deny with Luar was still something you did sometimes against some matches, but it wasn't like your main game plan anymore. But a lot of decks against certain matchups, you did not want to give damage to your opponent early, because as we all know, Vanguard Zero is a game of go second, win game, and sometimes as the player going first, sometimes your best approach of not dying was to not give damage, and you can't do that anymore because this card works turn 2 onwards while it's face down now. So the player going second, if they want the CB, I think they can ping themselves up to like 3 times before they stride, 2 or 3 times before they can stride. So they have more than enough CB to work with, and now we are truly playing a game of, if you went second, you can't do anything about it anymore, and you just eat shit and die. So I think the most easiest examples that I can think of are Hari. I think was the main one. Hari isn't too relevant anymore in my opinion. You don't really see it too much, but one of the ways that a lot of decks dealt with Hari was you just didn't give the deck that 1 CB to play with, so you slowed them down for at least 1 turn. So you don't just so you at least probably had 2 strides to play with before they got to like Hari into Hari, because now the second Hari would be on 3rd strike, because they would actually have to go into the harmonics to ping themselves if they want CB. And yeah, you can't do that anymore. Hari was a deck that in my opinion was balanced off of the point that you could damage deny them if you really wanted to, and it would let you probably live an extra turn, get an extra stride, and try to kill them, which was cool. Another deck that last month specifically for me that I really liked to damage deny going first, maybe sometimes even going second, was Chaos. Because Chaos really needs that first CB to get that first lock off to actually start popping off and doing all its stuff, to start chaining all its lock, chaining all of its effects. If you deny that 1 CB, they can't use Crisis's on stride skill, so they couldn't get that first lock, and you just like kind of turned off a lot of their decks. They ended up having played super vanilla a lot of the times on that first stride, which I think was a really good way to counter the deck, especially with something like for example like Gears, because once you get the first stride, you can set up like resist and stuff in the front row, just empty out your back row, so they can't actually lock anything other than hand locks. But that's like a very specific example, but those are still examples nonetheless. You could some decks you could just damage deny to slow them down super hard, and you can't do that anymore because of harmonics, because works face down now. So I think that's the main thing. And then the other thing is that because of that change, of this change making it so you can't damage deny, the game basically has just progressed to a point where it's just what deck can kill you the fastest, which is fine, obviously, because your most next win con is getting the opponent to 6 damage, which is like cool and all, but like, you know, you take away like a style of a deck, you take away like a deck that decks. You're basically taking into like the creativity of the players. Gamestudio has basically told all the players that they're not allowed to be creative with the decks at all. It's just, okay, what deck is good at just slapping your opponent's face to 6 as fast as possible? Because, you know, stuff like 0 damage Angels, 0 damage Lord was most definitely not intended by Gamestudio. It was definitely like a player creation. I think it's really cool. It added like an extra layer to the game. It made the game less like one-dimensional, where it was just unga bunga hit face. And now, this change basically takes away all of that. So I really don't like it for that. Bias aside, I obviously really liked 0 damage Lord as a deck. I thought it was really cool. I thought it gave me a sense of felt like I was actually controlling the pace of the game when it wasn't just fucking triggers go RNG. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. And I think my last point with this is that because of what they're doing with this, like this was already the case beforehand. Once they added the change where the player going first got a free heal guard, they basically already made it so harmonics was like mandatory to play in the G zone. So harmonics actually takes up a slot in the G zone. So I don't know why they haven't changed it to the point where harmonics is just a free 13th slot in the G zone, so you can actually play 12 cards you want to be playing in the G zone instead. So yeah, I don't like how harmonics is like a card that's basically mandatory for every deck, and it takes up a slot in the G zone, so you're only allowed to play 11 actual strides now. Before, you actually had to go into this card to ping yourself, so you know, it's still something you strided into occasionally, and I just don't do that anymore because the fact it works face down now. And then obviously the skill that it was intended to be used with was the unlock skill. Obviously against Link Joker you still might actually go into it for that, but that's like one very specific matchup. So yeah, so that's it for this video. Very quite short. I just wanted a quick little ramble about it. If you guys want to know what I thought about harmonics, and I really want them to. I really would have preferred them to have just like added these skills to starters or something instead. I guess. Like I don't know. Like I don't even like. I think the main thing with me is that like they just didn't directly deal with the issue. They just kind of worked around the issue by buffing harmonics a bunch instead. And because they definitely could have dealt with stuff like Gize, the 0 damage decks, in their own way. Like they could actually like hit the cards, you know, like change the text on the cards instead of giving harmonics 10 buffs that end up fucking over the game in another indirect way because of the buff. So yeah, no actual suggestions directly as to how they could have changed it, but I definitely felt like they could have actually dealt with the problem instead of dealing with like playing around the problem by buffing harmonics instead. So yeah, if you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear them. You know, like obviously games was probably not going to listen to it, but I'd still like to hear them nonetheless. So that's it for this video. Tell me guys what you think about. Tell me guys if you like the harmonic buffs down below in the comments. Like and subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.